Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair. If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is my office. This is the morning grind. It is so great to have you here. And I see lots of people were waiting on me. We had a major storm last night. I hadn't actually walked around to see what it was around, but the power was out here. And so I forgot that, the power went out. So I had to reset a bunch of equipment and things like that. So fortunately, the power is back on for the show. So good morning. It's World Building Wednesday. So what I thought we would do, I didn't even get to do the thumbnail this morning. I was trying to get everything ready. So we have generic thumbnail today. But I thought that it's World Building Wednesday. And one of the things that we wanted to look at was EZd6. And I was wondering, I remember when we looked at EZd6, it's been a while. I said, this seems like something that I could play with the nephews. And so the younger nephews, the oldest one plays Dungeons and Dragons, is no problem. But it seems like something that could be great for very casual games or something that you could play with kids. And we just looked at it briefly. I don't remember how much of it we went through. I don't know if we did the entire thing, if it was just the how to play. But I needed to look at it again. I need to look at it again and come up with I need to look at it again and come up with, okay, is it actually something that could do some type of conversion for Rabivania or not? And see. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Hey, Tomocrat. Yep, Cultist Meetup. Hey, Sable Phoenix. And Micah. Good morning. Good morning. James, does Steve King ever wear yellow? Steve King in yellow? Oh, he does, doesn't he? I still find it odd that Heath's banner is yellow. What, that my banner? Welcome, Stray. I know, hey, Traco, good morning, good morning. Sable says, the delivery on that line, I don't drink coffee, is a line worthy of Eeyore. He did deliver it in a very Eeyore kind of way. That's what Democrat says is one of my favorite lines in the season. Steele says, no one worshiping the crawling chaos should have their hair that neat. Sapphire Ridge, good morning. Wow, lots of people here. Wonderful. Wait, thank you so much for posting the Discord link. Sable Phoenix says, I have ICRPG and EZd6. And see, so they're both published by the same company, right? They're not written by the same people, but they're both published by Runehammer, right? And I didn't realize that until the other day. Because I kind of think that the IC index card, the ICRPG, I was thinking about that. I was thinking that, hey, well, maybe that could be an alternative system for Theophany, the ICRPG. Maybe we could do that. And then Rabivania would be EZd6. And they both happen to be Runehammer games. So that's interesting. Tomocrat says, I really like EZd6 and Tiny Dungeon. Oh, BGD says, EZd6 is a great choice for a system for translating into your original setting. Okay. Oh, in the YouTube chat? Wait, let me check this out. Yeah. I know. The Heath's Geekverse. Oh, I guess that's just a YouTube thing. I was like, what banner did I make that is yellow? But okay, yes. I think that has something to do with maybe the influence of the yellow over YouTube. Sapphire Ridge says, could I request that you look at Dogs in the Vineyard someday? I have never heard of that. I can check it out and see if we could look at it here. Where's my notes? Dogs in the Vineyard. Well, I don't know where my list went. Hey, I'm kind of casual this morning. Dogs in the Vineyard. That piece of paper won't make it. I'll write it over here. Do remember, please do fill out your Kickstarter surveys if you have one, because did I freeze? There we go. Oh, please fill out your Kickstarter surveys if you have one. I shipped out some books yesterday, so books are actually shipping out, but it will probably be Friday and the weekend before a bunch more ship out. So please do take a look. Please do fill out your survey if you have not already, because we will be sending these out. Sable Phoenix says, Dogs in the Vineyard has become surprisingly difficult to track down. It's a classic from the Forge, though. Total classic, huh? I don't know what the Forge style games is. Is Dogs in the Vineyard a White Wolf system? BGD says EZd6 is the evolution of DM Scotty's longtime homebrew system, and Runehammer helped fine-tune it for publication. That's kind of what I thought the relationship was. Okay, so before we take a look at that, though, I've been thinking about the 10 Candles RPG that we looked at yesterday for quite a bit yesterday. And I was even thinking about it this morning. I was thinking about it this morning during the storm because I couldn't sleep. So I was sitting in the storm going, oh, man, this would be a perfect time to be doing a role-playing game because it was heavy rain, thunder, lightning, whole 9 yards for a while. It would have been a great RPG session had it not been at like I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning or something like that. But I was trying to think of, I was kind of consumed by thinking of 10 Candles and what it was trying to do and why it seemed like it was doing that so well. And I was trying to come up with some other kind of some other like categorization of that game. And so we'd come up with a sort of a blending of Savage, or we said that Savage, or no, Savage Worlds, GURPS, and then Fate all seem to be in the same family. There's a family of games that's that loop right there, and that has to do with, I thought, the way that characters are constructed, what makes a character, and then one of them is very simulationist, one of them is more gamist, and the other one is more narrative. But there seems to be some other category of games that kind of overlaps with Fate, and I'm not sure. It's kind of more of a style of play than it is a game mechanic. But that game mechanic or that style of play where everybody is collaborating to create the world as we go. Because Fate talked about that. And in some ways, that's one of my least favorite parts of Fate. But okay, part doesn't really interest me all that much. I guess particularly because I like the world building side of things. And so to sit down and try to do, let's sit down and let's have a game where everybody just sort of contribute. We don't even understand the world that we're going to be playing in. Like, why would we do that? When you could play in something that you could potentially want to experience. So that part of Fate, when I read that part, didn't actually intrigue me all that much. But then 10 Candles does that. So 10 Candles does that, and 10 Candles seems really cool. So what was the difference here? I was trying to understand that. And it seems like, okay, there's a frame for the 10 Candles game, kind of a light frame for it. But what it's trying to do, you do understand what a 10 Candles game is going to be because it's trying to invoke a certain feel. And everything is built around trying to invoke that certain feel. And so it tolerates more flexibility in what the world is going to be. So where am I going with that? But I was wondering, well, gee, could you give another framework for another game that was like that? Because that's the horror style. So, of course, and there is a lot that's put into it. It may not work. You may to transfer to some other type of theme because there's so much work done in that game. I can't wait to try it out. I was sending messages to people. I was like, we've got to try this out yesterday. There's so much put into the physical environment in that world, in that game, to actually invoke a particular feel, to invoke that feel. Like, could you do action adventure? Could you do action adventure in a style of game like that? Maybe. How many different major categories of games do we have? Horror is one of them. But, when we're talking about structure and storytelling, I was thinking, well, gee, could you adapt? Because that game also, it structures the game for horror style play. Is there a way to structure a game for action adventure style play? When we're talking about structure and storytelling, could we take the hero's journey structure or the heroine's labyrinth structure or something like that and say, all right, we got 10 scenes or whatever it is like in that, and can we know roughly where we're supposed to be in that story structure, and then guide us through that story structure? Because at the end of that 2 to 3 hours, it seems like if you're playing horror, 10 Candles make sure you're like, oh my God, I just feel, I feel like I was in a horror game or a horror movie for 2 to 3 hours. You should be able to do that with in principle, I suppose you should be able to do that with other types of games too. Can you do this with action adventure? Can you say, all right, we're going to be doing an action adventure game, and 2 to 3 hours later, I want you to feel like you were in an action movie? It may be more difficult because I would have to think a lot more about if you're going to be using the physical environment of the game, how would you do that? But I think it's probably worth thinking about. And also, I think that when I was thinking about the world and trying to come up with a world, like, could you not do this in Star Wars, for instance? Could you do something like this in Star Wars? Could you do action adventure in Star Wars with trying to invoke the feeling? That way, invoke an action adventure feeling like 10 Candles does for horror. Because then you're not worried about making the world. It depends on exactly two different levels, I think, of making the world. Because if there's the broad world, like Star Wars, like, okay, we're playing in the world of Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever it is that you want to play in. And so you have this defined facts about the world. If it's Star Wars, you've got the Force, you've got Jedi, you've got the Sith, you've got stormtroopers, you've got all of that, X-Wing fighters. So everybody knows that. Everybody has a whole bunch of common touchstones for doing that. But on the other hand, so making up the world, well, the world's already made up. But on the other hand, there's another level of making the world, which I think I'm more okay with when you've got narrative control, like during the game. Well, okay, so we know what the world of Star Wars is, except for, well, when you crash land on a certain planet, or when you open up a door in an Imperial bunker or something like that, what's behind the door? What kind of threats are there when your X-Wing crashes? Well, I don't know. And that's the kind of stuff that can take a lot of time trying to write out in an adventure module, and then also somebody reading and trying to get right. Maybe those are the kinds of world things, the world building aspects of this that are just can be part of the narrative. I mean, it seems like you should be able to do that. And I haven't encountered a lot of people doing that kind of stuff. Like, okay, we're playing in Star Wars, but this kind of game, we don't have a structure yet for what's behind certain doors for, the Imperial bunker or things like that. The mechanics let you determine that. I don't know. That's what I was thinking of this morning during the rainstorm. And I didn't really come up with a great, I want to keep that in the back of my mind. Like, can we come up with other game structures for, especially like action adventure, in a way that could be invoked? I don't know. I'm thinking about that. Dogs in the Vineyard has nothing to do with White Wolf. It's based on the establishment of the Mormon settlement of the Midwest. Really? Huh. Good morning, Vision. Sort of. Sable Phoenix says, it's not actually the Latter-day Saints specifically, but you play as dogs of the faith who have unilateral power to enforce the laws of this subset of society, even more so than the Eastern Authority, sometimes putting you in conflict with the elected government, in fact. Alice is Missing. Shut Up and Sit Down reviewed it. Mentioned it yesterday. It's very similar, but also pretty different. So you think that in that same vein then. So Alice is Missing. Dread, in the Ravenkeep Discord, people were saying Dread, that's some kind of game that uses Jenga bricks or something like that. So maybe we should look at Dread, and maybe we should look at this Alice is Missing too. We will see. Vision, can't wait to get the signed copy of Goodnight Sword. 3 signed copies shipped yesterday, but that's all I had, so I'm waiting for more of them to come in. Sable Phoenix says, if you're looking for something to adapt to the hero's journey, I recommend looking at the Microscope RPG. It would require some tweaking. I have never heard of that one either. Where is my... Oh, look. This is the sheet of paper I was looking for. Eventually, this sheet of paper with different RPGs is actually going to be reduced. Dogs of the Vineyard. Sapphire Ridge says half HP, double damage, no resurrection, pumps up the horror action feel. Good morning, Andrew. Tomocrat says, yeah, it would have to think of the adventure setting up as a more one episode setup with its ABC self-contained. Well, yeah, I think so. Like, if you think of it as an episode, well, it could be a movie too. Because you've got 3 hours. Let's say 2 to 3 hours. I mean, maybe as long as 4. That would be a general game session in order to play out. It seems like you would have to take longer to play out a whole movie. if you're doing a 1 hour, if you're doing a 1 hour, the equivalent of a 1 hour episode, then getting it done in 2 hours might be good. But, maybe you can play a movie in 3 hours, or maybe that should be the goal. Like how that's an interesting question. How much time at the table do you need to play an entire movie? How long does that take? That's kind of probably a little bit difficult to quantify at certain levels, but that's an interesting question. Like, given this system, how long will it take you to play out an entire movie? And if it slows down in combat, like if it grinds down to 1 second turns when you need 3 hours to play out a single combat, well, you're not getting the whole movie done. The Last Phoenix says Death Star was a dungeon all along. James says, I agree with Tomocrat. You need a discreetly defined ending, and you need to hem them into the party to a specific scene with a scenario, but it could 100% work. Yeah, and see, that's another thing that 10 Candles does well. When the end is going to be. What the end is going to be. It seems like if you're going to do like action adventure, though, you're going to need for them to be able to pull off the fighting the big bad guy. But you need some type of conclusion. But you don't, like in 10 Candles, you don't need them to be in any particular location, I don't suppose, because their deaths can occur wherever. What are the dark side? What are the stats in the dark side gelatinous cube? Sapphire Ridge says, I like my players picking what they are doing next session and then preparing them for that. So Dread uses Jenga Tower for a skill check. When it falls, they fail and die. Yeah, it depends on whether you're trying to do a campaign. If you're trying to do a campaign, then some kind of episodic TV-like structure would be the way to go. Now, I thought about an hourglass. Like, I think that, like, I'm a big fan of, like, I talk all the time about, I think time is underused in RPGs, and I want to think more about that. 10 Candles, again, has a really fantastic mechanic for that. So I think that the two RPGs that have been most surprising now, that I think a lot about because of the exploration on the morning grind, are Maul's Ritter and 10 Candles now. But yeah, so like an hourglass. But I was thinking about that I was thinking maybe you need an hourglass. Maybe using an actual hourglass or something like that would work at the table. Well, okay. BGG says one interesting and effective way to structure an action adventure one-shot adventure is to set an objective for the players and then post a real-time countdown timer for them to complete the mission. That could be a large real-time hourglass. So if you were to say you got 2 hours or 3 hours, how big is a 4-hour glass? I don't know. Microscope. But you could do it. This is an interesting. This is an aside going in this direction, but it is what I've been thinking about all morning. Because after the storm, but you could if you just had a 1 hour hourglass. If you actually had the 1 hour hourglass, you could. Well, you could even do it with half an hour. But if you're talking about the story structure or something like that, you know that okay, if you're doing like the hero's journey. We tend to use a 3-act structure, but we really like breaking it up into 4 different parts. And so you would know that, okay, we've got this hourglass timer and we're going to go through it 4 times. Maybe an hour timer is too long then, but you've got, because then it would be 4 hours. But, well, a half an hour timer would make it a 2-hour game if you said each chunk of the story needs to take about 30 minutes. I wonder how you could do that. It says that's probably too short because I think the game is going to take longer than a movie would. So maybe you need some way to do this in 3 hours. But at any rate, have certain benchmarks that you've got to make it to, and that by the time this the sand runs out, we're moving on to the next major chunk of this story. And I was also thinking, one of the rules of the storytelling is that you've got to what you should be accumulating stuff in the first half and then use everything that's been accumulated to complete the story in the back half. You don't need to keep adding stuff in. So maybe the first half, by the time you played through the first half of the game, you should have everything out there that's necessary to complete the story. And then, so like if you're trying to generate aspects or things like that, if you're playing Fate, or at least know of the existence of the item that you've got to go and get and things like that, or whatever that is. And then you've got to use all those things to wrap up the story. I'm not sure. I was just thinking about that. So Microscope is a very unique world-building kind of game. You establish a broad, sweeping timeline and can zoom in on any section of it, define character situations, and RP them off the cuff. Well, all right. That sounds like one we need to look at. 4 hour hourglass is $90. I was thinking it would be massive. I've used timers, Neutromaster says, for acts and one session shots. PH says, about character death, I always make a homebrew in which the group of players always gain something when someone dies. These benefits are tied to the past character or cumulative. Okay, anyway, that's what I was thinking based on yesterday's thoughts. I may end up with more thoughts on that. What I need to do is I need to play 10 Candles. And then maybe that gives, I'm sure that will give me more insight into not only it, of course, but then, hey, could you make other genre style games? Okay, so our purpose here was to take a look at D6, EZd6. Yeah, Stray says you could use your phone, but an hourglass is cooler. And if it's the hourglass is also good because it's standing up on the table that everybody can see. $20 inches tall for a 4-hour glass. Well, that's definitely something you could put on the table and game with. So simplicity is the key to freeing the imagination. And again, 10 Candles had very simple kinds of mechanics. So here's the fundamentals. Here's what EZd6 was or is. This book is the action fantasy incarnation of the EZd6 system. There will be poetic moments, crazy stories, and all kinds of unforeseen fun ahead. Here are the barest bones of what makes this game what it is. The game centers on role-playing. It begins with pretending to be an alter ego far removed from your everyday life. Your hero, the alternate you in a fantasy world, goes on dangerous adventures, makes dear friends and dastardly enemies. Okay, we know that part. Players are called pushers and shovers here. Rain is coming down again. If you hear how to play, here we go. The core mechanic. The player states to the rebel rouser what they want the rabble rouser, what they want their hero to do. The rabble rouser will tell the players the number they have to roll on a 6-sided die to succeed. For instance, if a hero wants to stab an enemy with their blade, the rabble rouser asks the hero to roll 3 or more on d6. If the player rolls less than 3, they fail. Otherwise, they succeed and harm the enemy. It's as simple as that. So we're always talking about success on a 3 or more off of a d6. Which seems to be very simple. I don't know, thinking back to 10 Candles and this again, I don't know that I've read on the Morning Grind a system like 10 Candles that changes the success or changes the mechanics of the game the further you go into the game in order to bring about this result. Because we're always talking about, or at least I'm always thinking about, a structure for resolving success or failure in a game that, to me, is internally consistent and consistent across the game. But 10 Candles manipulates that in order to create the game feel, by reducing the dice pool and things like that. And that's very interesting too. Sable Phoenix says 10 Candles took about 4 hours for my session that I ran. I bet if you had a group of players experienced in playing it, it would cut that down to 3, but it might depend on the number of players. And I was looking up actually how long tea lights last, and it seems that they can vary in time between like 2 and 4 hours. And so I was looking that up yesterday too. I was like, so how long does one of those last if they burn out naturally? So you could perhaps accidentally have some really long-lasting candles. Although the failure of a challenge, it moves you on to the next scene. So, but this is 3 or more, you succeed. The rabble rouser will decide on the number you must meet or beat for success. That's why I actually was like in the beginning, like, oh, well, man, if you had young kids who were role-playing, you could start with something really simple like this. The rabble rouser will decide on the number that you must meet or beat for success. The range is between 2 and 6, and 1 is always a failure. Higher numbers are for harder tasks. The chart below details difficulty ratings. So this is why 3 is normal. Roll 3 or more. But 4 for tougher or faster enemies. Very hard, 5 elite or fast enemies. Super hard, the ultimate and fastest. That would be a D6. Or if they are very easy enemies, easy 2, weak and slow enemies. Is it published by Lame Mage? Well, Lame Mage. Okay, I thought you asked if it was published by Lame Magic. Like, Lame Magic. For combat situations, you will need to roll a 3 or higher to hit your target, and your enemies will need a 3 to hit you. The rabble rouser will use the lower or higher numbers for special circumstances. So what about the differences between characters? And mechanically, there was no difference between characters in 10 Candles. I was thinking about that too. That, we also talk a lot about what's the least you can do. What's the least you can do to have a great time at the table? And if that's the goal, 10 Candles seems to be winning. All right, we're going to have this great time tonight. We're going to invoke this horror feel. What's the least we can do? Well, 10 Candles doesn't do a whole lot of extra stuff. And one of the things it doesn't do is give you a whole bunch of different statistics for different characters and the feel of the different characters. It's all in that. It's just in your virtues and vices and things like that, which is interesting, which is really interesting. Whatever you're trying to do, you mechanically have the same kind of chances to succeed as anybody else. What about the differences between characters here? In many game systems, you build heroes with attributes and skills represented by numbers. These systems slow down play because you often need to reference the number on your hero sheet and add them to your dice rolls. In EZd6, the stats are replaced by a simple mechanic called a boon. Training is a boon. The EZd6 system easily addresses differences in heroes by simply applying an additional die to a roll or boon to task when the hero has specific training. So when rolling for a train to task, roll 2 dice instead of 1 and keep the highest result. This little difference lets players train in all kinds of things to double their chances of success. Rolling to beat a 5 is a lot easier with 2 dice than 1. PH says, I really enjoyed EZd6. I thought it would be too deadly, but the armor mechanic is tight. We'll check that out. An exceptionally hard task, man. So here's his example. I'm Roderick, the coolest hero ever. Thanks to a long storied career as an adventurer and all-around great guy, I'm proficient with every weapon known to man. I always roll 2d6 when attacking even when using spoons. So I suppose you come up with your list of skills that are suitable for your game. Probably, I suppose in this, something like a fate-like list of skills would work. That was like 18 skills or something. And I wonder how many you would be trained in. Choose some appropriate number to be trained in. So most of the time, the difficulty scale is adequate, but sometimes an action is so problematic that it requires a bane. Things like fighting in total darkness or doing another task while on fire counts as a bane. Oh, here we have on fire as an example again. In this case, the hindered hero rolls 2 dice instead of 1 and keeps the lower result. If skilled, but affected with a bane, the hero goes back to only rolling 1 die. Skill cancels the bane out. Wait a minute. You want me to roll super hard a 6 on 2d6? The odds are looking dire for Roderick. What do you mean I'm on fire? Still? So only 1 die? I need to roll a 6 or I'm a Rob Kebab. Here goes. So can you help somebody else on a task? So this is important, I think, for designing characters, because I've got the character classes. The reason I was looking at this again was because I was potentially looking at this for Rabivania. So maybe that is what needs to happen. That you got this list of skills. What does a character look like? Some kind of list of skills, which I started to outline anyway for Rabivania. So I guess that's what I would have to have. And then say, what of these you are trained in? So that's what you would need to know about your character, right? You would need to know what type of training your character has. We'll probably see an example character sheet here in a bit. So if you're so I've got the knight, the witch, the knight, the witch, the druid, and the knight, witch, druid. Oh, damsel. Knight, witch, druid, and damsel. So at the moment, I would just need to know what type of boon they've got. Now, but see, how do we do like a racial template here? How are we going to? Is this going to tell us later, hopefully, like what a racial template looks like? Because we would need a racial template as well, I think. James says, I love the tone of the EZd6 books. Very excited, very fun. As a copy editor, I constantly tell people to write how they speak. This is a master class in writing how you speak. Sapphire says, good class spread. I think so. And you could still, like in the 5th edition incarnation of the rules, you could still bring in other character classes from 5th edition. But I think those 4 classes would be a fun adventuring party and also invoke the feel. So the Bane, that's part of the world. Okay, helping with a task. Okay, heroes can give the other their future action in a turn. Heroes can give up their future action in the turn to help another player. That player rolls a die and treats it like a boon rolled in the check. For example, a conjurer with the magical mystery boon gets to roll 2d6 when trying to decipher a scroll of lore. Player assisting the conjurer has the aspect of training with the scribe. The Rebel Rouser rules the aspect fits the task and would allow the scribe to roll a die. Now, we got this word aspect right here. The player, which seems like a fate thing, the player assisting the conjurer has the aspect of training with the scribe. Well, that is an interesting way of phrasing that, because it says the player assisting the conjurer has training, or has the scribe skill trained or something like that. It has the aspect of training with the scribe. So 3 dice have been rolled for the check, and the final number will be the highest of the 3. Since the scribe helped the conjurer this turn, remember that the scribe loses their turn next time. Zero the Blade says, I remember playing an EZd6, but I can't remember its name because I got punished for succeeding on a task and lost interest in playing. So, some kind of mechanical punishment for succeeding on a task? By the way, we do have a table talk tonight. I got to get ready because Michelle Smith is going to be here for the second part of our discussion on good and evil, and I want to use some storytelling examples and movie examples. I got to get ready for that. But she and I will be talking at 7 o'clock tonight. Brianna wants to respond to her next Tuesday. Okay, so we do have a table talk tonight. 7 o'clock. Oh, crap, I rolled a 1. Rolling a 1 is always a failure, and the Rebel Rouser can put the hero into a sticky situation depending on the action happening in the story that particular time. Did the hero just petition a local lord for aid? Perhaps they inadvertently insult said noble. Did a hero want to swing from a rope? Perhaps the rope breaks and the hero smashes into an enemy like a bowling ball into pins. A hero still has a chance to recover from a failed roll. See hero dice below. Kick ass, I rolled a 6. So rolling a 6 is always a success. What happens is determined by what is possible for the hero in that setting. Let the player have fun with the success and allow them to narrate a cool outcome for the roll. In combat, rolling 6 has an added benefit. See the crit rule, page 12. Calling on your inner strength. At the start of the session, each hero gets a hero die. This can be burned anytime in the game to re-roll a die. Even if you roll a 1. Once used, the die is discarded, but can be reacquired anytime by spending 5 karma to revive it. Oh, yeah, I forgot we got this karma thing in here. So each start of the session, you get a hero die. It can be burned anytime in the game to re-roll the die, even if you roll a 1. Probably a lot of the time, use it to make sure that you get out of a 1, because a 1 would put you in a sticky situation. Oh, Zero the Blade says, yes, I rolled a successful fail on the controller die. Stray says, "Woot, table talk." Those have been fun. You know, I like having conversations with people. So Vika says, even if it was the rules, the DM should have a sense to know the mechanic isn't a fun one. So we're going to see something in here called the controller die in here. Okay, heroes often have luck on their side. How many times in stories have you seen a down-and-out hero suddenly turn the tide on gloating enemies? These are awesome moments, and karma is the mechanic of this game that represents heroes shifting luck. 3 karma are awarded to each hero at the start of the session. The Rebel Rouser can also award karma for excellent role-playing moments, but the most common way to acquire karma is through failure. Yes, okay. Whenever a hero fails an action roll, they gain 1 karma. It sucks to fail a roll, and receiving a karma to use later helps take away the sting of failure and ensures that no matter how bad a player rolls, they will bank karma for later. So we saw a little bit of this in 2D20, right? Because this is the way to mitigate the issue that I have a lot, and that's that if you're supposed to be skilled at something, you're supposed to be good at something. I want you to be successful. Because I talk a lot about removing randomness from the game. So here's one way you can do it, though. If you fail a roll, well, then is this like a karma point or something like this? That next time you'll be more successful. So if you have a series of bad rolls, you're not going to roll bad forever. Because the gambler's fallacy says that, we were talking about that like, I've got a 30% chance of failure. So a 70% chance of success. So I'm really good at this. Well, maybe. But on the other hand, you can roll bad 3 or 4 times in a row every time you use that. VGD says the karma mechanic is the linchpin of EZd6 gameplay. Using it strategically is the key to the player's system mastery. So whenever a hero fails an action roll, they gain 1 karma. It sucks to fail a roll, and receiving a karma to use later helps take away the sting of failure and ensures that no matter how bad a player rolls, they will bank karma for later. You can only ever get 1 karma a turn. 1 karma a turn, no matter how many rolls you fail. Okay, so 1 per turn. Karma can be used to improve almost any die roll on a 1 pip per karma point basis. If you were using dice with pips, which it did look like 10 Candles was using. Of course, it doesn't really matter. But I think that's what we're talking about. It's a +1. So 1 additional pip for this. If this changes your roll to a success, you do the task you were going for and lose karma instead. If your roll becomes a 6 in combat, now follow the crit rule. There is no limit to the total number of karma a player can hoard or use in a turn. When you accept karma for a failed roll, you cannot then use the karma gained for that turn's rolls. Okay, so that makes sense. If you can't use it instantly on the roll that caused you to gain the karma. But it says, yes, karma cannot be used on magic or miracles. The ebb and flow of magic and fickleness of the gods prevent bending by karma. More about this later when we talk about magic and miracles. Karma cannot be used to modify a 1, but a hero die can. Okay. Oh, yes. I remember that too, because there was some difference here. Okay. So we're going to have to look at magic. Magic is a sticking point again, because how do you get magic to fit into an existing game world? It's difficult to make Dungeons and Dragons magic do that. It's probably going to be difficult to get this magic to do it, but maybe we'll see. I gotta look at what this is. But you can't use karma on magic. And also, if you roll a 1, there's nothing you can do about it. So that would get you karma points, but you can't adjust a 1. Okay, how do we track time? There are 2 states of gameplay, narrative time and action time. Narrative time has a loose time structure and can represent anywhere from minutes to days. In narrative time, players can discuss plans or role play in any order. A rebel rouser makes sure each hero gets time to contribute. Action time is more structured and represents actions that are happening quickly or usually under duress. Only seconds of time pass and are abstractly represented as a turn. Each hero can move, perform 1 action, and 1 free action. A scene is an abstract way to measure the duration of effects and is often called an encounter in other games. If everything in the game has a duration of a scene, if anything in the game has a duration of a scene, it will last about 10 minutes or the duration of a skirmish battle. And that's another thing that I liked about 10 Candles, that we've seen games that use a scene as an actual integral component of the game. Fate does that. That certain things, and like here, like things here, if something has the game duration of scene, so this is using scene as an actual gameplay unit, right? Something, there's a structure to the story that is done in scenes. But when do scenes end? I was thinking about that with 10 Candles, that with failure, it ends, which is a great time to fade out. Because when does a scene end? Well, it might drag on and on and on. But in 10 Candles, it did give you dramatic moments to fade out of that scene. Oh my God, something, you guys failed. Something happened because the dice, your conflict dice didn't come up right. What happens next? Let's fade out and let's go to a new scene. I think that was really interesting. I wonder if there's more that can be done with that. Okay. Heroes get a move, a turn action, and a free action per turn. The Rebel Rouser takes the turn of all the enemies after the player has had a turn. Wait for it. A hero can delay their turn to wait and see what the enemy will do. The hero can interrupt the turn at any point to take their own turn. The enemy completes their turn after the player finishes. Delays allow the player to coordinate attacks and create cool strategies. The trade-off is the hero cannot take a run action and they lose their free action. Okay, delaying a turn can be useful for situations where a flying creature is out of melee range but is about to swoop in to attack, and when heroes are waiting to ambush, or when heroes are waiting to ambush a hidden enemy. So I guess that's the fast and easy way to handle that. We got to think more about initiative in general, because we want that to be fast too. Of course, there's no initiative in 10 Candles, but like I said, when somebody draws a sword and is about to stab somebody, that's when I really want there to be some sudden action and flurry of activity there. I don't want everybody to just go, all right, draw the sword to stab the guy. All right, everybody, roll initiative, and please go stand up, and it's time to go make a sandwich because we got to figure out this initiative order. I want that to be snappy. Sable Phoenix says 10 Candles is just brilliantly designed. Yeah, it and Maul's Ritter. It does. It really stretches the way you think about game design as a whole. I'm still wondering if there's some way that you can abstract what they're trying to do and then apply that to other genres and other games. So if there's some kind of meta level about what they're doing that can be extracted and then applied to other genres. I don't know. The community pool. I mean, see, in this game, everybody's basically equal. But I like the idea. I mean, I do like the idea over here that, okay, it's a very simple idea of aspects. Oh, this sounds like something I'd be good at. So, roll 2d6. Maybe you could have some type of, maybe that's how you could control the scene too. Of course, in 10 candles, you're rolling all of the available dice. But in this, what if you just roll one die, but you're taking it out of the pool or something like that. I don't know. Anon says, also gives a player a reason to roll skills they're bad at. Well, we'll see. So, turn actions: attack a target, cast a spell, use a scroll, disarm a trap, pick up a dropped weapon, run, move further by sacrificing your action, arm a shield, warrior, any other action deemed by the RR to require an action. Free action: speak to an enemy or neutral character, take a potion, draw or sheathe a weapon, some inclinations, use your free action, or any other action deemed by the RR to be a free action. Oh, okay, we're using near and far. I think that's fine. I like that. Any interaction within 30 feet is considered near. Any interaction further than 30 feet will take a run action from the player or a second move, and this is referred to as far. Difficult terrain like a slick surface or broken ground could keep a hero from making a run action if they fail a check. Unless the heroes are surprised by the enemy, all the heroes take their turn first, and then the enemies go. Heroes can go in any order, make sure everyone gets a turn, and then the Rebel Rouser gets a turn, moving the attacking action with all enemies. Do I have 10,000 hit points? No. Not having lots of health points adds too much fussy math. For most characters, it will take 3 strikes and you're out, but having to take those strikes is another matter. Enemies can take more or fewer strikes depending on factors in the enemy and monster section. Magic and special abilities can help heroes heal strikes. However, you can also recover 1 strike naturally by eating a meal and resting for the night. How much damage will my weapons do? 1 hit equals 1 strike of damage. So, for instance, if you are hit by a club, greatsword, or dagger, you take 1 strike off your total. Giant weapons and siege weapons like ballista inflict 2 strikes, but each strike can be saved independently. So it's possible to get hit by a large weapon, make 1 armor save, and still take 1 strike of damage. Does this game mention how it handles crossbows? I don't know. We'll see if we have crossbow in here later. But probably that was the information we just got. Sable Phoenix says, it looks like the same people who made Microscope also made a similar meta-style game called Follow about achieving quests together. I'm going to have to buy it. Maybe check it on the grind too. Microscope and Follow. Ten Candles takes resource management up to 11, each die rolling impacting potentially every other die roll made by the player, even the candles. The game makes you want to protect them, because if a gust of wind snugs one out, as I understand it, that's it. It's gone. You never relight candles, right? And so that's true. In that sense, you're also managing a real world triumph, a real world resource. Yeah, that's true. See, I was thinking about that pool. If you were using something like that, extracting this at the meta level to doing something like this with EZd6, if you're trying to figure out how many scenes you've got, like what if you put 10 dice in the dice pool or whatever, and then you're going to take an actions. That means there basically can be up to 10 actions taken in the scene. And if you fail, you can re-roll, but you're taking that out of the dice pool. Maybe. I like, see, it puts the clock on things. You've got the clock of the candles, but you've also got you know that you're not going to be playing this particular scene forever. You know, you've got to do what you're trying to do because you've got a certain amount of, you've got a certain amount of resources to actually complete the scene with, which is your dice. There's going to be a lot of thinking about this. Stray says, I don't like a ton of HP, but I do like when armor absorbs damage and gets damaged. It lets you know how lucky or metal you are. And Black Hack, I think, did that well. I want to look back at Black Hack when I'm writing that. And apparently, there's a good art. Somebody was talking about earlier on this being a good armor mechanic. Yeah, 10 Candles conflates a visible real-world time constraint as a resource, as well as a meta time constraint as the dice pool randomly decreases in size. Well, it's not randomly decreasing in size, right? The dice pool resets, but you're talking about, okay, it's stepping down. I was thinking it doesn't randomly because every time you're going, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. But you're right. It can randomly start dropping dice because you roll ones in any particular scene. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack. Probably going to be thinking about that a lot. Maybe I need to go back to Malsritter. See, what if you could take the 10 Candles idea and add it to Malsritter? Would you have the ultimate role-playing game? So rolling a 6 in combat is a crit that has the potential to cause more strikes of damage. Continue rolling 1 die for every consecutive 6 rolled. Continue rolling 1 die for every consecutive 6 rolled. Inflict another strike. This is called confirming the crit. Karma can also be used to boost rolls up to 6s. Keep rolling until either you do not turn a roll into a 6 or run out of karma. With enough luck or karma, you could kill anything. Beware, enemies can also inflict crits. I crit multiple times but killed my enemy with the first strike. Do I lose the crit? Confirmed crits permit unused strikes to carry over to nearby targets. If you're a melee fighter, only opponents next to you can be hit. If you're ranged, you can choose targets within sight. So rolling a 6 in combat is a crit and has the potential to cause more strikes in damage. Continue rolling 1 die for every consecutive 6 rolled. I think I need another word in here. Continue rolling 1 die for every consecutive 6 rolled and inflict another strike. Maybe there's supposed to be and in here. So it sounds like if you roll a 6, dice explosion. Yeah, so if you hit this, if you roll a 6, you're supposed to roll again. Like how many hits do I, if I just roll 1 6 though, do I inflict 2 strikes? I guess that's what it sounded like. This monster is trying to eat me. How do I escape? Oh, here's armor. The Rebel Rouser and the hero both roll against each other, and the higher roll wins the contest. Easy. Time means you're still struggling. So armor is the hero's first line of defense. Armor allows heroes to make an armor save after each strike they take. A successful roll avoids 1 strike. The hero who is hit takes the strike from any armor save they fail. If you are hit for multiple strikes of damage like a crit, you get to make the roll for each strike. Villains and enemies do not normally have a save roll feature. Remember that karma can be used to boost roll saves. In some events can happen that armor will not protect you from. In these cases, make a miraculous save roll instead of an armor save. Events such as falling, fire, poison, or crushing rocks will require a miraculous save roll and will inflict 1 strike for every failed roll. So some dramatic events may cause such catastrophic damage to a character and kill a hero outright, such as a massive cave-in or large explosion. Heroes get a miraculous save roll. I suppose we have to figure out what that roll is. It's like a 6 instead of an armor save, but only survive with 1 strike remaining, even if they make the roll. Role play how you avoided certain death. Rules for spellcasting and calling on miracles are detailed here. All right, so what is their magic system? It's just saying that the dice chain explodes. They don't stop until you don't roll a 6 again. I like exploding dice. I do too. I talked about, there's a video where I talked about I like exploding dice for damage. I fell in love with 7th Sea. Didn't we talk to, Sydney, not Sydney, Jeff Engelstein. Didn't we talk to Jeff Engelstein about that exploding dice mechanic? Let's see. Okay. Casting magic or calling on miracles is a mini game that has different rules than other actions. This is not only gives magic and miracles a different feel, it keeps magic unpredictable and dangerous and miracles hard to call upon. Okay, the conjurer explains what spell they are casting to the rebel rouser. The rebel rouser then decides the spell is targeted against a creature and is an effect or a beneficial spell with friendly targets. This exchange will help the rebel rouser decide how many resistance dice to roll. So it's kind of free form magic. The conjurer explains what spell they're trying to cast. Resistance to cast. Most enemies or heroes resist spells on 1d6 roll, where others have a higher magic resistance and will roll more dice. Spells targeted against the environment instead of an enemy generally roll 1d6, but the rabble rouser may decide to roll more dice depending on factors within the spell's area. When a conjurer casts a spell, they must decide the power level, 1d6 to 3d6 they want to use. This means the conjurer has to choose whether to roll 1, 2, or 3 dice. The caster must roll equal to or beat the resistance number of the highest resistance die roll of the targets on one of the power level dice rolled. Equal or beat. The resistance die always be rolled and revealed first before the conjurer decides on the power level. If the highest resistance number ends up as a 1, the conjurer automatically casts the spell. Successful casting a spell. The highest die, so it sounds like you would need to write out some type of spells for your world in order to keep it from being so free form. The highest die roll, rolling more power dice has a greater chance of equaling or beating a resistance roll, but also gives you a better chance to roll a 1. So the resistance number you need to equal to or beat is low. Consider rolling 1 or 2 dice instead of 3. Manipulating the magical energies is different and can be outright dangerous. Any roll of a 1 while casting a spell means the energies do not manifest, but a conjurer may want to sacrifice life force to continue casting the spell. A spell can still be cast by the conjurer, taking a strike of damage for every 1 rolled. Otherwise, the spell fails. Karma cannot be used to boost power levels on spells. We saw that. Attacking multiple enemies, anchoring a spell. This is probably a great spell casting system for, like dungeon fantasy kinds of things. Yeah, so spells require arbitration from the rabble rouser. Creating your own spells on the fly is fun, will take up time at the table. Be careful not to make your spell too complicated and difficult to explain. If the process is bogging the game down, consider using a simpler spell. Maybe we do have some examples coming up. Maybe. The magic in this system is totally free-form by design. You just come up with an effect, and if you make the roll, the effect happens. Scrolls. Conjurers, hedge wizards, and skulls use scrolls. Oh, so calling on miracles. This is what the priests do. So miracles is like the priestly magic. You can ask a favor of your divine patron, but now the likelihood the deity will directly intervene is small. Roll 3d6 like a conjurer, but instead of a power level, the roll represents the urgency of your prayer. The hero must equal or beat the aloofness roll of their deity to petition the miracle. The rebel rouser will determine the number of aloofness dice for the request. For example, resurrecting a fallen friend would be a 6d6 difficulty, while a speak to the dead would be 3d6. Miracles can only be asked for once per situation, and since gods can be arrogant, no karma may be used. Miracles can only be used to harm another being or cause damage. Oh, cannot. Can only. No. Miracles cannot be used to harm another being or cause damage. Don't forget the hero die can be used to re-roll any single prayer die. Rolling a 1 will automatically end your chance of a miracle. However, like Spellburn for conjurers, offerings made to a deity by heroes with the devout inclination will receive a blessing to re-roll all dice for a prayer once per day. The Rebel Rouser will stipulate whether the offering is sufficient for the request. So again, this is free form here. Ask your god for a miracle. Clearly explain what you are intending so the Rabble Rouser can decide the number of aloofness dice to roll as resistance to the prayer, or even if your deity would grant such a miracle. So Sable Phoenix says, regarding the magic, which gets wacky and perfectly fits the gonzo tone of EZd6. The Last Phoenix says, lame, what about my evil god? Can't do damage. I guess that's trying to separate the magic, the two different types of magic. Non-magical wealth is often a goal in adventure games, but is a chore to track. Characters in fiction never track money, but give clues about always being broke or deciding what to do with the hoard uncovered and won. These choices make the game interesting, but in mechanical terms, slow the game down and turn it into a bean-counting headache. A much easier system is to turn all that tracking into a level of wealth that the heroes have access to. There are no hard and fast rules to this. Rather, let the story dictate the level of wealth. For example, heroes uncover a vast treasure hoard, giving them kingly wealth. Hearing of this, a dragon raids their stash and steals their treasure. Now all the heroes are cash poor. They could set up a headquarters. Now they must seek treasure to pay expenses. So although no bean counting is happening in the game, the heroes can still be motivated by non-magical treasure. Pauper, cash poor, moderate, wealthy, lordly wealth, kingly wealth. Okay, how to play. Create your pusher and shover. So so here we do have rules for hero, path, and species. Okay, so good, because would need to be able to write some of those. Choose inclinations. Choose abilities and powers to further define your hero. 3 for humans, 2 for other species. Create 2 aspects or create during gameplay, created by you to round out your hero concept. If a conjurer, choose your level of sorcery, choose equipment. Don't be fooled by the simplicity of the hero paths ahead. Just because there aren't tons of rules for a specific hero concept doesn't mean you can't create your idea. Most of what makes pushers and shovers heroic, fun, and memorable happens between the rules in roleplay, humor, and style. Okay, so here we have a warrior. So, okay, a warrior, health 3 strikes, armor heavy. So this is, okay, so they have heavy armor, which means saves against wounds on a 3+ with shield, 4+ without. Oh, and this tells you what their miraculous save is. Boon, melee, and strength tasks. Okay, so that's a short list. So, Boon, melee, and strength-related tasks. Shield sacrifice. Okay, so it's just one page here. Are these... choose a hero path, choose a species, choose inclinations, create 2 aspects. Is shield sacrifice, brutal strikes, and dual weapons like just what you get free? That's not one of these inclinations. Do you get all those, or maybe you have to choose one in the beginning? As a free action, once per scene, you can deflect all attack damage from yourself or a close ally for this round, but your shield breaks and is destroyed. This maneuver can be activated after the damage has been inflicted. Your armor save then goes from 3 to 4+. You can avoid the break by spending 5 karma. Brutal strikes. You're a master of two-handed weapons. You crit on 5 to 6 instead of just 6. No shield. A warden. So we're health. Okay, that seems to be the same at the moment. But we can change up what type of armor somebody's wearing, what boon they get. So right now they're getting 2 boons, which are pretty general. And he's got Trail Finder. You can follow traces left by passing creatures. Forager. You can sustain yourself in the outdoors. You can also sustain others depending on the size of your group and circumstances. Delver. You call dark holes and dank dungeons home. Medium armor, melee or ranged weapons, and spelunking subterranean exploration tasks. VGD says, regardless of your choice of hero path, goblins are the best species in EZd6. We'll have to look at goblins here. Gear, always ready for the delve, and Jack, you may pick a bonus inclination. If human, pick 4. Other species pick 3. Inclinations must be coming. I bet this just sounds like stuff that you've got. Brute, 5 strikes, light armor, melee, and strength tasks. In rage, you can sacrifice one of your own strikes to inflict an extra strike on a combat hit. Superstitious, you have a boon to resist any magic you do not want to affect you. Rascal. Oh, the Conjurer. Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool. So, Conjurer, the master of powerful magic. Friar. 3 strikes, medium, blessed. So I like a holy roller, a pious servant, or a crackpot. You decide. Boon is resisting heretical powers and religious knowledge tasks. Scald. Some of these I could see working for Rabivania, others will not. Beastmaster, you have realized your gift with animals is rare and wonderful. Okay, so how to play. Now choose your species. Oh, okay. And okay, so where's Goblin? Oh, good. Here's Goblin. So now choose your species. Decide on your species and note the benefits. Human, pick a third inclination. Elf, Twilight Sight. See twice in forest, dim light. Boon to resist mind-altering magics. Dwarf, Tunnel Sight. See twice as far in dim light. Boon to resist poison. Halfling, another breakfast. Start with a healing potion. Heals 2 strikes and can drink as a free action. Larger foes have difficulty hitting you. +1 to your target number. So Goblin is nooks and crannies. If you move a Goblin, as you move, a Goblin can jump into cover and avoid being attacked for a turn if they don't attack. Cover or broken ground must be near the Goblin. Night Sight, see twice as far in dim light. So again, lots of ways to see in the dark. Heath's Geekverse calling dark holes home since 2023. Hey Heath, I hope you don't mind. Cyberpunk, Reports of Cybervania. Sci-fi, Chronicles of Astrovania. Post-apocalyptic is Survivor's Log of Ruinvania. High fantasy is Legends of Dragonvania. Do the species of Rabivania have specific pantheons they worship? Well, the Mirites have their mother in the lake. So that's a monotheistic religion. But then the druids and the witches are much more free-form, kind of animistic. Had a creative explosion here. Okay, choose your character's inclinations. Humans choose 2 and others choose 3. The hero path is painting your hero in a broad stroke. Inclinations refine your hero with extra abilities and powers that represent unique backgrounds or skills they possess. You know potion making. If alchemist, you know potion making and have a boon in the identification of substances. Attuned, you can blind fight and escape areas of obscured vision that can befuddle and direct others. Hatred of the unholy, your loathing and disgust of the undead and demons empowers your melee attacks. If you roll 6 while attacking an undead or demon, you automatically inflict a second strike and can continue to roll the crit. Craftsperson. Okay, so this is how you're customizing yourself. Fate touched. Fighter. Hedge wizard. Iron will. Lock picking. Marksman. Nimbus of light. Sneaky. Sticky fingers. Thaumatology. You know minor magical tricks. These are non-harmful manifestations like moving small objects slowly or solitary. Minor illusions like sight, sound, and smell. They must be concentrated on or quick to fade away. All right. Create aspects. Aspects are character-created traits and a great way to round out the concept of your pusher and shover. In addition to hero paths, inclinations, and species, characters start with 2 aspects. An aspect is a single-line description that describes a hero's history, physical trait, or mannerisms. Try to avoid statements that overlap with hero paths and inclinations. Aspects give a hero some background beyond the rules. It's perfectly acceptable to delay picking aspects and insert them into the game as you discover the kind of character you want to be. Such as devastatingly handsome, brooding, and mysterious. So, benefits of aspects besides role-playing. Players use an aspect to gain a boon on a role that pertains to the aspect. That sounds very the nose plays like. Players can use an aspect to gain a boon to roll that on a role that pertains to the aspect. Players then role-play or make the case why the aspect is pertinent, and the rabble-rouser makes the final determination. If playing in an open world or one-shot, players are free to make up names of locations. If playing in an established world, consult the rabble-rouser. So, circles of sorcery. So these are the different, if you're a magician or a conjurer, which group you belong to. Oh, I did see seer. So some of these might work. So seer, the probabilities of the universe swirl around you. By entering a trance, you can predict future events or divine the best course of action. The inspirations that come to you are often jumbled and obscured and must be interpreted by you. You possess psychometry, the ability to read objects. This often comes in the form of visions and will give you clues to the history of the object as well if the object is magical and how it works. A spirit companion accompanies you and is often a personage from the past. You can see and interact with the spirit. This is why others often think of seers as eccentric and a bit off-kilter. You also have precognition and can avoid any damaging attack on a 3+. If you make your save, the melee attacker injures itself for 1 strike. If you make your save, the melee attacker injures itself for 1 strike. That could be witch-like, because some of the witches are seers. What is Shadow Wheat? Cloak of Darkness. All right, I'll have to read through those because some of them may work, some of them won't. BGD says it would be super easy to create a series of Rabivania-specific hero path conversions for EZd6. An armor level, a couple of boons, and you're set. Coupled with species inclinations, and you'd be all set. It sounds that way. So this might be easier than I thought. I was afraid this was going to be difficult, but it sounds like it's going to be easy because I was like, what kind of structure do we have here? The hard one actually seems like I'm going to have to dig into Pathfinder. That'll be another excuse to actually look at Pathfinder 2nd edition because I just about have all the 5th edition stuff, all the rules down. But converting it to Pathfinder may be difficult. This one actually may be an easy one to do. Let's see. Let's get some equipment. Heroes start with the type of armor listed on their hero path. Like old school games, the hero paths cannot upgrade armor type without interfering in their fighting or professional abilities. So a rascal that wears light armor cannot upgrade to more protection without taking a Bane to all rolls. For light armor to heavy armor, 2 steps, 2 Bane dice. Let's see. Being attacked in melee while armed with a ranged weapon gives you Bane to shoot until you can move away. Heroes are allowed to take any weapons that fit their character concept within reason. How much can I carry? There are no hard and fast rules as a hero can carry, so common sense rules. If the Rabble Rouser rules that the character is overloaded, the Rebel Rouser will make action tests harder and may incur a bane if overwhelmingly overloaded. Common gear. No, this is rolling for other stuff. That also is kind of like a knave kind of thing. Specialty gear. Rabble rousing. Okay. So then we go over here. Steel Mongoose says, I'm starting on the Knight of Lepa source book for Rabivania. Is there an OGL? Not yet. Okay. Well, we won't go into this. Okay. I'm glad I looked at this, though, because this one does seem like a good one for Rabivania. I think this one would be fun. So, yeah. So I need to sit down. It shouldn't be too hard, though, to create those adventure paths. And some of these adventure paths, like I said in 5th edition, well, then you can also just choose some of the traditional ones. Miracle should be hard. Falling is dangerous. Oh, we got probably some bad guys in the back here, right? Monsters. So need to be able to make up like all the raccoons and things like that. So classic monster list, EZd6 monster list. Oh, okay. So classic and then monsters over here. So animated skeleton. So why do we write out an NPC here? James says, I like EZd6 generally. It kind of surprised me. It surprised me in that I like it. So it's like 10. Oh, this is a demon. So this is this is our NPC write-up, which is also nice. Animated skeleton, decayed corpses turned magic automatons. So we need a strikes for it. So this is strikes 1. To hit is 3. And that's pretty normal, right? Hitting on a 3 is normal. Takes 1 strike. 1 attack, often rusted weapons. Skeletons are brittle and will shatter if hit. So 1 strike. Parts continue fighting. Free attack if destroyed near an enemy. Parts continue fighting. Free attack if destroyed near an enemy. Mindless mind powers are useless. Mindless mind powers are useless on skeletons. Unliving and needs no sustenance, sleep, or air. Whereas a demon, woe to those who release these fiends, strikes 10 to hit 4. But makes 4 attacks. Claw, bite, gore, horns. I don't see necessarily balancing this. This is just creating what the creature needs to be, right? Immune to fire attacks. Roll 2d6 to resist magic. Burst into a fireball upon taking its last strike. All near can be hit. Must make a miraculous save to avoid. So a young dragon has 15 strikes. Okay, so how many multi-attacks here? Okay, the dragon can fly. Boon and strength, melee, and lore. What about was orc in here? So a zombie strikes 2 to hit 3. 1 bite, claw attack, cannot crit. 4+ to hit. No, 1 bite, claw attack, cannot crit, +4 to hit. 4+ to hit. Slow, easy to outrun. Unliving and needs no sustenance, sleep, or air. Mindless, their rotting brains cannot be affected by mental powers, fear, or persuasion. You got all kinds of creepy stuff in this. Lots on monsters. Oh, so this is new made-up monsters and what they are. Well, let's see here. The Murdroth is a great example of how a monster's story is more deadly than its stats. As a kidnapper creature, the Murdroth threatens to eliminate a hero without breaching all of their heroic defenses, simply dragging them off never to be seen again. Ugh. Okay. I think it's worth a try. I think it's worth a try. I think it sounds like EZd6, 5e, and Pathfinder 2e need to be the ones that the Rabivania World Primer are written for. Using scrolls, I'll try to make it work. It's not like I said, it's not like it's perfect. It's that interpretation of the world as instantiated in a particular rule system, not the definitive nature of the world. Magic treasure tables. All right. All right. It's been a while, so sometimes you have to come back to one. Ben Gaiman Games says, I bought some of the EZd6 books of quests last night. I hope to use it when I run a D&D session at our game store on Friday. Thanks, Heath. Well, you're welcome. BGD says, because EZd6 is so streamlined in the mechanical toolkit GMs have at their disposal, I find waiting stat blocks for monsters to be the most, or writing, I guess that's writing. I find writing stat blocks for monsters to be the most challenging part of converting foes from other sources. Oh yeah, writing. Or even small rabbits if you're in the if you're in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So writing, but so I'm hoping that maybe I've got, that's why I did 5e first. I could do GURPS first, but I don't know if I could put out a GURPS one, but find out what all the powers are. And then what's the best way to convert that over to EZd6? Trey says, love EZd6. I've been working on templates for both quests and hero paths. All right. Well, it sounds like this is a game is a winner then in several different ways. And lots of people like it. So that's good. All right. So then EZd6. I guess we'll move on with that next time we're working on World Building Wednesday. Might do that soon. I didn't get to work on the 5th edition stats for those raccoons. I basically got it all done, but I realized that the raccoons are still not right. Last time we were working on them. They're too powerful. They're too powerful. I got to go back and revise the raccoons. I got to revise the raccoons because what I should do, and this is obvious, I should have done this in the beginning, was create like a different types of raccoon war parties that I want you to encounter, because you're basically just encountering them individually right now, and because they're so strong, and that's not what they should do. You should be encountering packs of the rats and the weasels. Those are lower level. The raccoons need to be higher level, but they don't need to be individual foes. They still should be operating inside a war party. So I got to go back and fix that. Armor in EZd6 uniquely negates damage with a dice roll. This maintains the tension of being hit while offering satisfaction when successfully defending an attack. Well, yeah, so it does. It's active defense, right? It does that through the armor save. So it gives you the player the active defense through an armor save. It does do that. And you don't have that many hits anyway. So the tension is always there. Maintains the tension of being hit. Yeah. All right. Well, I've got things I've got to do. There's a lot going on over here that I'm trying to take care of. And it seems like my plate only gets more and more loaded with things. But there's a lot of good stuff going on over here too. But I will be back here with you tonight. Yeah, it works like the Warhammer save and plays fast. So I'll be back with you tonight with Michelle. We'll be talking about good and evil and storytelling. We'll start that at 7:00 p.m. Central Time. I'm still planning on having a members-only stream tomorrow night, and then maybe do Hero Quest on Friday. I got a lot more cleaning I got to do, but I'm almost done. Oh, I was painting up some of these guys. I was painting up more warriors. So I was painting up some of these guys, these berserkers. This is my last group of warriors for my Stark army, some type of berserker small unit. And then I can put the paints away, at least temporarily, even though I really want to do an undead army. But then I got to figure out how many points that is. So we'll try to do Hero Quest on Friday night. That's fun. And then Saturday, I'll put it out on Discord again. On Saturday, we've got the Cultists watch party season 2, the Cultist season 2 watch party with RM on Positive Fandom, and also the Burnett work. And that was fantastic last 2 weeks ago when we watched season 1. So we'll be watching season 2 this time. All right. Thank you for saying it. I'm glad you had a great time. Please do like the stream, grind on, see everybody tonight. Go forth, be creative, be constructive, and grind on. See you tonight.